Flick is one of the most celebrated and successful golf teachers in the world. He's written more than 50 articles for Golf Digest and co-authored 4 books on playing the game. In 1988, Flick was named PGA Teacher of the Year. Currently, Flick is the director of the Jack Nicklaus Jim Flick Golf Schools. The cornerstone philosophy of these schools is that the best way to teach is to teach people, not methods.
I've been teaching golf 35 years, and the truth is, I've probably learned as much from my students as they've learned from me. But one thing I've learned for sure is that the touring professional and the high handicap player, they each learn differently. Yes, I've watched enough swings to know that they have and share common problems, but everybody learns differently. The wide world of golf has asked me to put together the most common problems I've seen in teaching this game. The purpose of this series is threefold. Number one, to identify those problems. Number two, to help you see, indeed, if you're suffering from those problems and the symptoms you may have. And number three, to put forth suggestions, some drills, and a proper mindset that helps you going to play better golf and enjoy this game. Much like a rifleman, aim in golf is of a critical nature. If you're wanting to get your golf ball solidly into the target area, there's a number of ingredients that must be put in sync. The symptoms of aiming poorly are that your starting direction of your golf ball will be on numerous starting lines. You may want to check that, but then we need to make sure that your mindset is correct. And to do that, I have this little exercise that I'd like for you to do. I'd like for you to come behind your golf ball, take your right arm and point it through the ball, down the target line to the flagstick or your target. Then put your left arm up parallel to it. That'll leave quite a little space in between your hands and arms, obviously the width of your shoulders. But then make sure that your mindset is not trying to make your left arm converge and point to the target. Because if you do, then your swing line will be proportionally to the right, and then you are misaimed with the club and or your body. So your mindset must be one of establishing a target line, then fitting your body in parallel to that line. Now, maybe the best player we've ever had has contributed to the game, the ability to aim his golf club and his body consistently. And he's made all of us aware of the importance of that. In fact, Jack Nicklaus has a procedure that all of us should watch. It's interesting to see how Jack goes behind his golf ball and picks some point in his peripheral vision, maybe within a 15, 16 inches or a couple feet, something on the ground. Then he will use something a few yards down the target line, like maybe this divot. Then on out further, maybe 40, 50, or 100 yards, another point. But the thing that Jack does to make sure that his target line is so precise, he picks a point behind the golf ball, and then that helps him guide his backswing line. So aiming is of a critical nature if you want to be consistently starting your ball in the same direction. Now, I know that most of you all don't need a ball retriever. Sometimes your playing partner does. So I would borrow his ball retriever and use it as a means of establishing your target line so your eyes get used to working down that target line very consistently, because your ability to aim is no better than your ability to establish the target line consistently. It'll take a little time to get comfortable with the habit, but it'll look something like so. So what good players do, they all have a different routine, they go differently about getting themselves set, but this one we know works. From behind the target line, you've established the points that create a consistency from the ball to the target, and then as you walk around, your eyes are watching the target line that you've just established. They're not looking at the target. They are looking down the target line. Then the first thing that you will do is to place your club, the club face, so it is perpendicular to your target line, and get in position. Then swing your body around so that it is parallel to your target line should you be wanting to strike a relatively straight shot. That would be compatible with your starting direction of your golf ball. Again, your shoulders will not be converging at the target. They will be parallel to the target line, as will the rest of your body. So it is eyes down the target line, club face in position. Swing your body into position, and you may want to waggle once or twice to get ready to go. Don't destroy your swing by having to make some kind of a compensating swing by getting out of position and then destroying your swing to get the ball back to your target line. Here we go. Establish your target line with your eyes. Move around, keeping yourself visualizing that target line. Fit the club face into position. Fit your body into position. And then literally all is left to do is to make your swing. And who knows, it may even go down the target line like that shot did. We're going to discuss the second major problem in pre-swing problems, and that's the grip. I like to think of the grip as two parts: the positioning of your hands on the golf club and how they fit consistently in the same place, and the pressure with which you hold your golf club. Now, each of those has a dramatic effect on your consistency of ball striking. The pressure with which you hold the club will dramatically affect the position of the club face as you swing it, as well the placement. But here are some symptoms that you may be experiencing and not realizing that your grip is your problem. Number one, if you don't have feel for the club head as you're swinging it, if you can't sense where the club head is during your swing, if you don't have big-time sensitivity for this golf club, you're in trouble. Secondly, during your swing, are you getting a consistent action and releasing of your hands at impact? When I think of good players with good grip pressure and swinging action, I love to visualize Freddie Couples' swing. It looks like it's so spontaneous. He has such feel for the club head. And as he swings that club, we see a consistent releasing action in the good players. Position of your hands on the club is very important, and maybe the best way to do that, because each of us have different arm hangs and different relationship. So I would ask you to just stand and let your arms hang naturally at your side. Bring the club into your left hand, using the fingers, and wrap them up and around underneath the club so the thumb is somewhere between 12 o'clock and 1 o'clock, depending upon the type of ball flight you want. If your ball is moving to the right or slicing too much, check to make sure that your hands may need to be turned slightly backwards or to the right. If you're hooking your ball too much, maybe an adjustment more to the target side would be helpful to you. But what you're looking for is so the palms are basically facing each other. That compatibly aligns your arms so you can swing. The key phrase that I like to use is fingers secure, arms relaxed. Now that's a very delicate balance, and you'll have to work at that. But you want to be able to feel the club, and you want to let the joints, being the wrist, the elbows, and the shoulders, be free to make a swinging action. So here's a little exercise that I would like to have you do. Stand up with me if you don't mind, and take a club, and let's go through this together. I would like for you to start with the club head right above your hands, and it's almost too light there. Then let's make it too heavy. And in our Goldilocks exercise, now it's just right. And change your grip pressure and see if you can feel the weight out here. It may get lighter and firmer, and mess with it until you can feel the club. But now, this is what changes so often in our golf swings. When I pull my driver out of the bag, I'm anticipating trying to make this ball go as far as it can. And I may hold this club too tight, indeed, if I don't understand that this is the lightest club in my bag. So probably my grip pressure should reflect that. If I want to strike my ball as far as I can with the driver, I want to hold the club that allows me to feel the weight in the head of the club responding and making my hands react throughout my swing. So what I'm going to ask you to do is to spend some time holding the club, and then the solution and exercise that I would like for you to do to develop your sensitivity for fingers secure and arms relaxed is to make some swings with your eyes literally closed and feel the weight of the club as you swing it, and feel how the weight in the head of the club is making your wrist respond to that weight. Remember, if it's too tight, you'll block it. If it's too loose, you'll have hand action at the wrong time in your swing. The grip is extremely critical in the consistency of your swinging action and your ball striking. We've talked about aim, we've talked about grip, and now we're going to discuss posture, because it also affects how you consistently swing your golf club and how you can strike your golf ball. I see a lot of postures that destroy the feel of the motion and destroy the rhythm of the swing. A lot of players look almost careless as they slouch into their ball with too much knee flex, weight back on the heels, and then their backs look curved, their chins are buried, and therefore they cannot have a good motion that must be supporting of the instrument. Let's see if you have any of these symptoms. Poor footwork, which means that during your swing, your feet can't pick up the rhythm of the motion. And that can happen because your weight's too much on your heels. We would like to get the weight on the balls of the feet, starting there. Yes, during the swing, it will be moving around as your arms come around and behind you. That momentum will make the weight move from the ball of the right foot towards the heel of the right foot, move slightly from the ball of the left foot towards the toe. As you start down, it'll work back through the balls of the feet, and then as your arms go around and your body turns out of the way, the weight will go to the left heel. Here's what I see in good postures. I see the player stand tall, bend at the hips, which then allows the arms to have room to suspend and hang over your chest, and that allows you to have more freedom. When I look at N. Baker Finch's posture, for a really tall man, it's impressive. Their knee flex may be a little deeper because their arms have to fit the golf club. Curtis Strange stands beautifully as he prepares to strike his golf ball. And for a shorter person, Tom Kite has beautiful posture. He's worked a lot with Bob Toski and Harvey Pinnick early in his career, where he gave a lot of credence and effort to beautiful posture. Good players not only have good posture, but they do it consistently. Another reason for having a routine. So here's what we'll see. We'll see the player bend from the hips to let your arms suspend and hang. Your eye line should be compatible with your target line. I see a number of folks whose heads get tilted to the side, and then they perceive the target, because their eye line is incorrect, they perceive the target to be well to the right, or even on occasionally to the left, but you want your eye line to be compatible with your target line. That'll help you perceive where the target is throughout your swing. I have an exercise that I have my players go through that helps them find a better posture. Looks kind of funny, but it really helps. In fact, you can do this at home. Practice putting a club, a shaft, down your back inside your shirt or blouse. Stand tall with your head against the shaft. And that helps you breathe better, to get your air and oxygen deeper into your body, and you'll relax a whole bunch more for that significant shot. And then bend from the hips, and that keeps your chin up so that your shoulder will not run into that chin. And then as you are swinging back, you can get the freedom of the motion because of your new good posture. And then you can get a better hip turn if your swing needs that, or you can get a better torso turn. What we like to see. Bend from the hips, let your arms suspend and hang freely. And then fit your feet in a relationship that your legs feel alive. Since your right hand is lower, or the trailing hand is lower on the club than your left hand, or your leading target hand, you may see that your right shoulder is slightly lower than left. Your right hip, slightly lower than left. Right knee, slightly lower than left, to accommodate nothing more simply than your right hand dropping under to fit on the golf club. Posture has a lot of ingredients. Spend some time on it at home with the mirror, and it'll improve your golf game. So here's the posture that I like to see. It creates arm freedom, alignment, athletic ready position, and my feet and my legs are alive to make a golf swing. Remember, posture's critical. Don't be careless. Now we're talking about one we're all familiar with, going over the top of the ball. It seems almost every tournament that I watch on television, that's the common analysis of what the player did when he hits either a pull or a shot that seems to get away from him. But really, what does coming over the top mean? Let's see if I can demonstrate that. Okay. As you set up to your golf ball, the club swings inward and around and up, but the path coming down is further away from your body, outside of the backswing line, so your club is going closer to the target line too early in your change of directions. Let's identify the symptoms of going over the top. Yes, we'll get pulls, we'll get in front of our ball and hit some pushes, and we may even hit some pop-ups when we have a driver because the angle's too steep. They'll look something like this. We'll swing our club back on a line that gets the club around behind us and over it and across the ball, and yes, there's a pull hook. Boy, that's hard to play. The reasons for the over the top can really be attributed to mainly three things. Number one is that your hands or your arms come immediately and abruptly inside on your backswing, and that therefore requires an over-the-top recovery coming down. Secondly, you may have worked so hard on your shoulder turn that the effort to turn your shoulders gets the club too inside and too flat, again necessitating over the top. Or the third, and the reason that so many times good players don't quite get the swing line they're looking for, is that once they've reached the top of their backswing, then they get a little excited and a change of directions comes from the top down with the upper body controlling their arms and throwing the club to the outside. So we have to find a solution for that problem. And I like to spend time with my students to make darn sure that they have a good picture in their mind of what the club should be doing. I use this little trick, but make darn sure when you're painting the line that you've got white shoes on. This is a visual that I like to use to help people identify the target line and then the line that the club should be swinging on. As it starts back, it'll be slightly inside the target line. Then as it starts back down, it will be closer to your body. So in essence, you are visualizing that as the arc going back, and that is the arc coming down, and then your follow-through on the forward swing side will depend upon the type of shot you're trying to strike. I can't help but remember Lee Trevino's swing. It's no wonder he's such a great player and been such a great player for such a long period of time. If he makes a mistake, it's coming down a little bit too inside. But golly, what a nice mistake to have. So, as a matter of fact, Lee told me one time that if he were going to give a beginner a way to start the game in a positive way, he'd make him spend hours with the right posture and practice swinging his arms in that manner until they can develop sensitivity for the arc, the path of the club, and the feeling for the club. Might be worth messing around with. But here we go in slow motion. Again, along the swing line, very close to the target line for a little while. Then as your body turns, the club will come inside as your arms swing up, drop down slightly inside and back along the line, visualizing and feeling it coming through, back to the golf ball, and then back over here. You need to do that with every club in your bag. I have my tour kids practice that with their pitching shots because they can hit those high, soft shots. Do you ever shank around the greens? Yeah. You may because your club gets outside on you. And I have a little deal there where we use a board, a 2x4, put it alongside your ball with just enough space to make sure that when you come down, you are retracing your backswing arc or slightly inside of it. And then if you don't touch the board, you're rest assured you're not going to strike it back in the hosel. Let's do that once, because every now and then we all get a little anxious and the club comes down on an undesirable swing path and we hit it back in the neck. So up, under, and boy, that's solid because I sure as heck didn't get over the top. I have a drill that I use a lot with the driver that helps people feel the correct swinging arc, and I call it back to target. Now, some teachers don't like this, but I really do because it helps us sense the change of directions with our arms. And yes, we need our feet and knees to support that, but many times people are so anxious to use their big muscles that the over effort of their body gets the club too steep and yes, over the top. So what we've done, your regular striking position. Then from there, Leave your left shoulder and arm in position, your hands, and turn your body backwards. Now, strangely enough, I want my ball to go to the same target area as if I was in a correct position. However, I will feel my arm swing up and around to go to my correct position here, then slightly drop under and feel myself hit a pretty good shot from there, but it'll sure make you feel how the club will not get over the top. Again, swing up in the correct position that you need to be to make it go to the target. That's kind of fun. You'd be surprised how far your ball goes when you have the right angle of approach and you have the club coming freely from the inside. Coming over the top is not an easy thing to cure. You're going to need to train your arms to sense and feel how they should react and change directions and come down properly. But we're going to help you get a support for that from the ground up with your feet and knees. Better weight shift to support the swinging action of your arms and hands. Yes, we need to pursue weight shift, but we don't want to get it the wrong way. We don't want it to happen by overworking our torso and our upper body and our hips. This is what I see so often in golf swings. People may take a good setup and a pretty good starting position, but in an effort to hit their ball further, their upper body works so hard, they lose their balance and they lose the ability to control the angle that they want the club coming back to the ball. I see it often with people with a driver, where really we're trying to get maximum distance. And then we are assuming that power is going to make the ball go further. We need solid center face hits. We need club head speed. That's why I enjoy seeing the person who swings his club in such a manner that it looks as though he has the club under control and he's swinging the club. Power and speed are not synonymous terms in golf. Make sure that your effort for weight shift does not get your body sideways at the point of impact. This is a problem that we see often. Yes, good players who want to play a fade may have their shoulders slightly open, certainly their hips at impact, but I watch Jack Nicklaus and I love to see him at impact. It looks like his chest is facing the target line, and that allows his arms to come back to the ball at the right angle to strike his ball and be in proper balance when he finishes. I have some drills that I would like for you to consider using if you have trouble maintaining a good head position and if your eye line changes. One of them I call the impact drill. I would like to put you in the desired impact position, make you hold that with your chest facing the golf ball, parallel to the target line, your feet and knees in your impact position with the right heel slightly off the ground, your chin up and your eye line proper to your target line. Then make a little swing and feel your arms and hands strike your ball and get used to holding your body so that your arms can swing on past you and strike the ball solid. It gives you the feeling of getting a clear picture in your mind of the position you'd like to be in at impact. Then, if you've had trouble staying in position with your upper body with a driver, Gary Player used this drill a few years ago, and he was really surprised how far his ball went. It's to get the angle of approach with a driver coming slightly upwards. We call it right foot, left toe, meaning that you pull your left heel off the ground, which makes your head get behind the ball, a position in which you would like to be with a driver in particular, where you're swinging upwards with your striking action, and then you strike your ball leaving the heel off the ground. And the funny thing of it is, your ball will go a lot further than you would think because your angle of approach is correct. A drill that you can use that will help you for better balance is the right foot directly behind the left foot. And that puts you in a pretty precarious position to be able to swing and maintain your balance. But let's give it a try and see. Yes, our ball went fairly well down our target line, and we swung our golf club and maintained our balance. Having mentioned Gary Player, we've all seen Gary take his golf swing, and then as he strikes his ball, he steps forward with his lower body, not his upper body, and yes, his upper body is responding as he steps and walks down the fairway. But my approach and what I like to see in the golf swing is the balance of Freddie Couples. It looks like the free swinging motion that he has with his arms and hands, and so sensitive to the instrument, is always at a pace where his balance is marvelous. It looks as though he swings and can hold and support himself and watch the ball strike the ground and come to a conclusion. I like that. If you have the symptoms of poor balance and you cannot control the angle of approach of your swing, make sure that you're getting your weight shift the right way. This issue we're going to address proper footwork and proper leg support for the swinging of your arms in the club. It's something that even my tour players are constantly working on. It needs maintenance. It needs a way of continuing to develop the change of directions of your golf club as it goes back and starts down, that you get proper foot and leg support so you can get the club coming on the right path and the right angle. I see so many folks who try to use their feet and legs. That's their thought process, but in essence what really happens is that they twist from the center of their body down and get their hips too active and get out of position. Probably you'll hit your ball all over the club face, from the toe to the heel, very weak shots, but you will not be getting the full striking action to give you your maximum distance. So here's what we're going to suggest that you work with. I would ask that you spend some time hitting shorter shots by choking up on the club and making swings where you feel like you can sense that your feet are picking up the rhythm of your arms and hands as you're swinging back. You're feeling your feet inside your shoes as you swing back. And then you can sense the movement from the ground up coming in this order. Feet, 1, knees 2, left thigh 3, and left hip 4. So it would look something like so. To start with, choke up on your club a little perhaps, and make a swing where you feel foot, knee, thigh, hip, in that order. And that'll help you control your change of directions and your sequence of moves. I like to practice that with this drill. I'll put a shaft beside my left foot, and get in position. Let me from this line, okay? Outside the ball of the left foot. The shaft is vertical in the ground, and then as I swing, I'll feel my left foot roll slightly inwards and upwards. Then I will put the heel down, the knee will move laterally, then it will stop as it reaches the shaft, then the thigh will turn rotary, then the hip, and that makes room for my arms to come underneath my shoulders and back to the inside. A very significant part of being a consistent ball striker is learning to use the feet and legs from the ground up. Another drill that I like to use for good players is what I call the baseball drill. Reminds me of Mel Ott. Years and years ago, used to hit his baseball with his foot up off the ground, his lead foot, and then put it down. So it's much like that. As you swing your club back, lift your left foot literally off the ground, then plant it, and then swing. And when you do that, you'll get the habit of stepping into your ball from the ground up. You'll see your left knee run away from your right knee. You'll feel the thigh turn out of the way, and you'll get a good solid strike on your golf ball. Greenside play many times makes us think of two shots, the skull and the chili dip. No, I know you've never hit those, but we've all gotten anxious and jumped up and topped our ball and had that thing run up there and go over the green and embarrass us. Or, just as embarrassing, the chili dip. Your grip pressure changes and you lay the sod right over the ball. We've all had that happen to us. And the symptoms of poor play, obviously, is poor solid ball club contact, so we can't control the distance of our ball. And secondly, the inability to control the trajectory of the ball, therefore the distance of the shot is out of control. Let's see what we can do to help you eliminate some of that anxiety factor. The first thing you should always do is inspect the lie of the ball. It indeed tells us what we can do, not necessarily the type of shot we'd like to hit. Then after we've inspected the lie, I would ask you to walk onto the green, let your feet give you some feedback for how firm the conditions are and how that might affect the roll of the golf ball. And then walk up and see the conditions that are going to affect the ball in its final few feet. Here we have a terrace that's going to make us get up over the top of this and ask the ball to slow down. And I would ask you to triangulate. That's a term I use when you get at an angle that's about halfway between the flag stick and your ball, and it gives you a much better perception of the distance of the shot. For instance, if I were to ask you what's the length of that club, it would be difficult. But if I ask you the length of the club from that angle, it's pretty easy to tell. So triangulation gives us a feel for distance of the shot we have to play. Okay, we've made our mind up now to the conditions around the flag stick and the green. We've checked our lie. Now let's put our imagination into gear. You might want to get down actually at the level the ball is nearly coming away from the ground. Use your imagination and predict, if you can, the type of shot with the ball toss that you would like to play. How it goes up the contour and the slope, how it then turns and comes back towards the flagstick, and giving us a feel for distance. Now your imagination will give you a factor of confidence and help you then create the amount of swing that fits these conditions. Okay, we have a lie. We've looked at the conditions affecting the roll of the ball. Now we need to position ourselves in a manner that we don't have to make any kind of quick swing with our hands or snapping with our hands. So we want to posture ourselves in such a manner. Again, much like your full swing, going to bend at the hips, weight on the balls of the feet, let your arms suspend and hang. But we want to make sure that we can hit a descending blow by putting slightly more weight on your left leg. You'll see, because your eyes are in front of the ball, they'll see more of the front of the ball than the back. And you'll probably want to take a couple little practice swings for the amount of distance or the amount of swing related to this shot. And I'm not going to worry too much about a follow-through because obviously going downward, I may even run the club into the ground. So a follow-through is not a big deal. Position myself and then literally make my swing. Watch the ball come up the terrace to see how it might affect my little putt. I was pleased with that because I could feel the control of the club through my arms, but sometimes we may get a little nervous and we may feel as though we need to help the ball get there. I see a lot of folks who have too little swing and snap it quick with their hands, and they get wristy, and their ball club contact is so inconsistent that they can't predict what the ball will do. Many times the chili dip and the skull are from the same problem. We set up behind the ball, we're perceiving that we want to get the leading edge of the club underneath the outside edge of the ball and scoop it up in the air, and therefore the bottom of the arc occurs behind the ball. That gives us the chili dip. Or if we miss the ground, literally what's happened, we're coming up. So those two faults, the chili dip and the skull, come from the same problem. Your swing center is not located far enough in front of the ball that your arc is coming downward. Another thing that I see so many good players do is they do not sole the club. They underreach, meaning they hold it off the ground slightly so the clubs can still be going downward. At least 60% of the shots in golf are short game shots. And I would ask you, are you spending that much time in your preparation of playing and scoring better? If you're not, you're probably not being fair to the game. One of the drills that I like to use on the low trajectory shots is a shaft that fits into my grip, and then I can practice and see if I get too wristy, then this shaft really lets me know. I get some immediate feedback. So you'll want to just take your regular starting position, hold the shaft, and then make a little shot like so, and you can begin to see how your arms and hands are swinging the club pretty well rather than snapping at it with your hands. Due to the location of the flag stick over this bunker and on a plateau, we obviously now need a different shot, our high trajectory shot. So the first thing we're going to do is to select our sand wedge. We're going to go through the same preparation, the lie, conditions of surrounding the flag stick. Got a little bit of wind in our face, which is an advantage. then my imagination for how much swing I'm going to need to get the ball into the target area. Now I must measure out, but I'm going to change it just a couple of things because I want my body to encourage a more level brushing type of swing rather than a descending, dragging swing that we had in a low trajectory shot. I'm going to position the ball slightly more forward. I see as much of the back of the ball as I do the front. My arms are still hanging. I will choke up on the club slightly because if I hold it on the end, the weight out here forces my grip pressure to get too tight and I lose feel for the club. So to decide on how much swing I need, I will take a couple of practice swings and let my arms fall, and I feel I need about a half swing. Again, I'm going to go through the routine of positioning myself for a swing that brushes the ground, weights evenly distributed, and now my 9 o'clock swing. Okay, we had the advantage of the club, we had the advantage of the wind, and it held that ball up. But you need to be able to play high trajectory shots because the golf courses we're playing on today require nice touch to get us a chance to get our ball into the flagstick. Many times when you find your ball in the bunker, you become intimidated because of the past experience of sculling the ball out of the bunker or leaving it in the bunker. So you're confused. How do I get the ball out of there? Well, let's see if we can give you some feedback as to what may be causing that skull that goes so far. You prepare to play, but during the swing, your body comes backwards, the arc bottoms out, the club strikes the ground, and then bounces up into the ball and it's gone, simply because you haven't stayed enough on your lead side. Here's what it may look like when you hit the skull. You're coming backwards, hit the ball in the upswing, there's ball-club contact, and it's out of here. Now the whole round's ruined. Or you may make the other mistake. Now you're scared about having done that, so now you take a little short swing. Afraid you're going to hit your ball too far. Your hands overwork, you turn the face of the club downward, and you hit something that looks like that. Now we're not sure what plan we should use. But how we're going to fix the first problem, the fallback, is you may want to even hit a ball on your left foot, right toe to make sure that if you make a mistake, the club is going downward, never falling back and up. If you make a mistake in the bunker, make it that the club is always going down into the sand. So let's see if that'll help us. We're even going to do left foot, right toe, making sure that my weight stays on my lead side. I make a swing, and yes, that ball will come out of there because the body position created a downward blow. Even if you're playing out of hard sand, keep your weight left, swing the club downward. The one that we overwork our hands, we use the leading edge of the club and knife and dig too deeply. There, make sure that you open the face of the club and you make a longer, slower swing so that you don't have to overwork your hands, and therefore you're using the bounce on the club and it can slide underneath the ball. The ball is nothing but a grain of sand. If we knock all this sand out of here, we'll knock the ball out. But what scares you is you're afraid with the target so close, your swing should not be so full. Remember, it's the only shot in golf there's no ball-club contact. It'd be like hitting your driver with a head cover on. So you want to make a swing that's long and slow, face open, and let's see if it won't come out for us. Yeah, there it goes. Strangely enough, good tour players probably would rather be in the bunker many times rather than some of the areas where the grass is really high around here. This is a more predictable situation for them. Look at their statistics. It's really impressive how well they play bunker shots. So here's the plan that I would ask you to do to become a better bunker player. You need a concept and an understanding of how to use this club. It's built differently than any club in your bag. It has more bounce on it. As a matter of fact, Sam Snead told me one time that he used his imagination to look through the face of the club and visualize the bounce and how it was going to contact the sand. Actually, the bounce hits first into the sand, not the leading edge. And that's your first consideration. Every line needs a corresponding use of the bounce. If the ball is setting on the surface nicely. Then you want to open the face, and the club will come through and cut a very shallow amount of sand out. And we need that because the ball is set in a position we do not want a digging action. Now, if we happen to draw a lie where the ball is slightly embedded, we know there's no ball-club contact. We want to make the face of the club pass underneath the ball. So now we square the club face so that the leading edge will help us dig down, and our arc will deeper into the sand. We still have the cushion of sand between the ball and the club, and now it comes out of there. But every now and then, we get the dreaded fried egg or the bedded lie. Now we're going to close the face so that our cut of sand will be even deeper. So the face is turned in, the toe will now emerge into the sand first, and we'll make a swing that the face of the club must go down deep, get underneath, and come out still looking like so. But there are 3 different cuts of sand based on how we use the bounce on the golf club related to the lie. Just as every shot in golf, always give consideration to the lie first. Now, the second consideration is logical. How can I get my ball to go the right distance? And to do that is simply the adjustment of the amount of swing and your body position to control the angle of the swing. For a short swing, or excuse me, for a shot where, like on the bank here, I don't need a big long swing, so I'll set a little more on my left side to increase the angle more downward like a letter V, and I'll have a swing that is not too long, and it will come out and go on the bank like so. Now, if I want it to go further, I am going to take a longer swing, and I will not position myself quite so much on my lead side, and it will look something like so. Longer swing, the amount of swing created more speed here, the sand threw the ball out and on the green. Now, for the long shot out of the bunker, maybe the hardest shot in golf. We've got to get the angle of the swing more around our body, and we have to get the shape of our swing wider like a letter U. In playing bunker shots, I would encourage you to get the habit of using your toes to dig down into the sand. That'll give you a good position. It will lower your arc so that you make sure of running the club into the sand first. So now we're going to play a longer shot. I've got myself set back on my right side a fraction more to keep the angle more shallow, and a longer, wider swing. And yes, my ball comes out and goes further because I can control the cut of sand. Something you don't want to lose track of in playing bunker shots is that you get the bounce exposed in the proper manner. Do not take your normal grip and face relationship and then try to open the face. Open the face to the degree you wish to properly expose the bounce on the golf club to ensure that it's going to be in the right place and making contact with the sand. And then place your hands on the golf club in the correct position. You'll feel very uncomfortable if you do it as you normally play. But remember, do not let the open face cause you concern. There's no ball club contact, so the ball's going to go basically where the sand sends it. Summary. Bunkers really become your friend. You've got to use the sand to control the speed and the contact. Remember, you never hit the ball. The sand is now being used to give you the distance you want. So inspect the lie, adjust the club to fit the lie, then shape the amount of and angle of the swing to fit the distance to the flag. Spend time in the bunker. You'll get so you'd rather be here sometimes than back there having to play across this bunker into a closely placed flag stick. Bunker shots aren't hard. There's more forgiveness, but you got to have confidence in what you're trying to do.